Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Respectable, my beloved teacher, Miss Eva. Let me introduce you. My name is SIDIQ Gumelar. I'm from class C. Here, I'd like to perform my presentation about varieties of English. Okay, now we have variety labels. First, American English. American English means English which is used by America or the United States. And then British English means English which is used by Britain or the United Kingdom. And then received pronunciation. Received pronunciation is typically British accent. And then General American. General American is English spoken by American or American accent. And then formal. It does not use colloquialisms, constructions, or first person pronouns such as I or we. And then informal. Informal is more casual and spontaneous. Informal is more casual and spontaneous. It is used when communicating with friends or family, either in writing or in conversation. And then polite. The people who are very well mannered and respectful of others. And then familiar. Familiar, recognize something or someone that is familiar, is well known to you. And then the common core. Many of the feathers of English are found in all, or nearly all varieties. The general feathers of this kind belong to the common core of the language. And this is we have children, offspring, and kids. And then children is a common core term. Offspring is rather formal and used of animals as well as human beings. And kids is informal and familiar. And then we have example of the common core like marriage, wedding, matrimony. Marriage is a common core term. And then wedding is formal. And then matrimony is informal. And then other example, result, effect, and consequence. Result is a common core term. Effect is formal, and consequence is rather formal and familiar. And then the other example, fright, dread, and fear. Fright is a common core. Dread is formal. And then fear is informal and familiar. Now we have another slide. The first, feeling tired, John went to bed early. The second, John went to bed early because he felt tired. And then the third, John felt tired, so he went to bed early. Sentence analysis. Sentence 2 is a common core. Construction could be used in both speaking and writing. Sentence 1 is rather formal in construction, typical return of exposition. And then sentence 3 is informal and is likely to occur in a relaxed conversation. And then we have other example. The first, feeling happy, Mill laughs out loudly. Mill laughs out loudly because he feels happy. Mill feels happy, so he laughs out loudly. Okay, for the first sentence, is rather formal in construction, typical return of exposition. Feeling happy, Mill laughs out loudly. Okay, the second sentence is common core construction or could be used in both speaking and writing. Mill laughs out loudly because he feels happy. And then the third sentence is informal and is likely to occur in in a relaxed conversation. Mill feels happy, so he laughs out loudly. The next slide. We have geographical and national varieties between British and America. The grammatical differences between the two varieties in comparison with differences of pronunciation and vocabulary are not very great. Next slide. Yes. Past participle forms of get. In America, it becomes gotten or got. In British, it becomes got. For example, in America, have you gotten or got your tickets for the match? And the example from the British accent, from the British style, I mean, have you got the tickets for the match? And then the repeated subject after one. In America, one cannot succeed unless he tries hard. But in British, one cannot succeed unless one tries hard. And then the normal complement after difference. In America, then. In British, from or sometimes to. For example, their house is different than ours. And then in British, their house is different from ours. And then the use of subjunctive after verbs like demand, require, insist, suggest, etc. is more common in America than in British, where the construction is restricted to rather formal contexts. In America, they suggested that Smith be dropped from the team, chiefly America. And then they suggested that Smith should be dropped from the team in America, but in British, they suggested that Smith should be dropped from the team. Okay. And then now I have another examples of that material. Spelling differences. In British, glamour. In America, also glamour. But in British, use you. GLAMOUR. In America, just GLAMOR. And then neighbor, and then color, and then hammer, and then labor. Yes, it's still the same. It's still the same spelling in British use you after O. In America is only O. And then vocabulary differences. In British, cafe, but in America, dinner. In British, angry. In America, mad. And then in British, cooker, but in America, stove. And then we have queue in British and line in America. And then grammar differences. Already, just, and yet. In British, Harry has already seen this movie. In America, Harry already saw this movie. And then in British, I've just received your email. In America, I just received your email. It's still the same, right? Okay. Next, in British, Andre hasn't come yet. In America, Andre didn't come yet. And then another example, both and both of. In British, both his sisters live in Japan. In America, both of his sisters live in Japan. And then in and for. In British, it was the worst storm for 10 years. But in America, it was the worst storm in 10 years. It's still the same. And then all and all of. In British, he has read all the books. But in America, he has read all the book. He has read all of the books. I'm sorry. Repeat. He has in British he has read all the books, but in America he has read all of the books. And then I have will and shall. In British, I shall never forget your birthday. But in America, I will never forget your birthday. And then in British, we shall come at 7 o'clock. In America, we will come at 7 o'clock. And then the next slide. Written and spoken English. The English of speech tends to be different from the English of writing in some fairly obvious ways. Obvious ways. In writing, there is time to plan the message, to think about it carefully while writing, and to revise it afterwards if necessary. In speech, there is no time to do that. Words and phrases in speech, like well, you see, and kind of, to show hesitation, fillers, ear and and like and In general, the grammar of spoken sentences is simpler and less strictly constructed than the grammar of written sentences. And then we have next slide, formal and informal English. Formal language is the type of language we use publicly for some serious purpose in official reports, business letters, and regulations. Formal English is nearly always written, especially it is used in formal public speeches. Informal language is the language of private conversation, of personal letters, etc. Informal language is the language of private conversation, of personal letters, etc. It is used in public communication, for example, advertisements and newspapers. And then we have various degrees of formality. The first, when his dad died, Pate had to get another job. The second, after his father's death, Peter had to change his job. Now, the third, on the decease of his father, Mr. Brown was obliged to seek alternative employment. Sentence analysis. Sentence 1, a casual conversation. Sentence 2, fairly neutral or common call style. Sentence 3, very formal or written style. Then, next slide. Vocabulary differences between formal and informal language. Formal or common call word. Discover. And informal, find out. And then explode. Formal, informal, blow up. And then encounter. Formal and come across, informal. And then enter, formal, and then go in or go into, informal. And then here are the examples of formal and informal form. The first, infantile, formal, childish, informal, and then nude, formal, naked, informal, and then obstinate, formal, stubborn, informal, and then peril or peril, formal, danger, informal, and then permit, it's formal, let, informal, let, it's informal, and then postpone, formal, put off, informal, and then present, formal, here, informal, and then proceed, formal, go ahead, informal, and then remove, formal, take out, informal. Okay, now this is the last slide. Grammatical differences between formal and informal English. The first, she longed for a friend in whom she could confide. She could confide. It is formal. And then the second, she longed for a friend who she could confide in. It is informal. Who? She longed for a friend who she could confide in. Informal. And then the third, in what country was he born? That's formal. And then the last, what country was he born in? What country was he born in? It is informal. Okay, that's the end for the presentation by me. Thank you so much. I do apologize for making mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.